Hi, everyone. I am Susan Winograd here with the brilliant Rebecca Kastin. And what we're doing today is a recap or a highlight of our last Ask the Experts event, where Rebecca spoke about her hormone harmony blueprint. And if you weren't at the event and you're so sad that you missed it, or you just need a little review, we are doing this little a Zoom so that you can get the highlights of the information. So if you remember, we started to talk a little bit about the missing link between the pelvic floor and nutrition. And it really, really is an important connection because we talked about how the pelvic floor lays on the bottom. The respiratory diaphragm lays on the top of that deep core system. We have an abdominal muscle in the front and then the deep extensors in the back. And this system is our foundation. It's what supports us, it's what stabilizes us through life. And guess what's right in the middle of it? Our digestive organs, correct. So we have to make sure that everything is working in synchrony together to optimize the amazing nutrition that you're putting in your mouth, hopefully, but also make sure that it's digesting and evacuating well. So let's connect the dots here for a minute. We talked a little bit about constipation, right? Whether you're constipated because of a lack of fiber or poor hydration, or a hormonal imbalance, or even a tight pelvic floor, you could drink all of the green juice that you want. But if your pelvic floor is not working optimally and your mechanics are off and you're unable to evacuate, your nutrition is not going to be optimized, and all of the healthy things you're eating are not going to be able to be evacuated in the right way. And it can lead to leaking. It can lead to pelvic organ prolapse. It could lead to pelvic pain. So we want to make sure that we always pair nutrition and pelvic health. Another great example that we gave was lifting. We tell women to lift all the time. We say you gotta lift in menopause. You have to lift heavy. You have to challenge yourself. But one thing that we don't realize is, guess what's supporting that lifting? It's your pelvic floor that's doing that heavy lifting for you throughout the day. It's what works to keep you supported, but no one talks about or appreciates. So we have to bring that conversation to the table and make sure that women are lifting and supporting themselves from the inside out, that they're generating that support from their deep core system. And we also talked about shifting the mindset from being reactive with pelvic health and not waiting for something to come up, but being preventative, not being reactive, but being preventative, just like as we approach perimenopause and menopause, we don't start worrying about osteoporosis or bone fractures when we get a fracture or fall. We are proactive about it. We make sure that we take care of our bone density so that we don't get into a position where we're losing bone density, getting osteopenia or osteoporosis, which may lead to a fracture. We are proactive about it. And that is how you need to start thinking about your pelvic health. So pelvic health and nutrition should never be separated and always be thought of together. One of the things that Rebecca was talking about was her hormone harmony blueprint. And Rebecca, one of the things that struck me that I left with that night was when you said hormones aren't the enemy, they're messengers. I love that. What do you wish all women knew about hormones, especially in midlife?
I think the big takeaway is just to listen. I think we really have to take that pause to listen to our bodies, and our hormones they're communicating critical messages about what is going on in our body, both physiologically, emotionally, and energetically. So it's not just about we're having a mood swing. It's why are we having that mood swing? The body is telling us that it's out of balance. And we just have to know that when we are in that stage of life, that it's not our fault, that it's just information, the mood swings, the hot flashes, the frozen shoulder, like, one of the hundreds of menopausal symptoms, is just information. The body is trying to get our attention. And when we listen and we're proactive in making those adjustments in lifestyle and diet, then, they become our friends. They're not our enemies anymore.
It's so true. I don't know why I thought of this, but it's almost like a traffic light, right? Like when its light is green, we know that we can go and it's safe. When it's red, it's like slow down. And when it's yellow, slow down. When it's red, we have to stop. I feel like it's almost like our body is sending us these messages and we think that they're all random or we think that it's stress related, but we have to like pause and connect the dots and realize that it is our body wanting us to connect those dots. So I think that having this conversation is so important because I don't think it's necessarily intuitive to think everything is connected, that all of those random symptoms are connected, but we know that they are.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
know that now that they're all connected, and and feeding or nourishing our body in the right way and having, love and self-compassion for ourselves. I mean, that's like the beginning to you understanding, the shift in our hormones and how we can best support them.
Yeah, I love that. Let's break down the basics. When women feel foggy, when they feel off, when they feel fatigued, what's actually going on hormonally with them?
Oh my gosh, like so many things. I mean, first you have to look at, your cortisol, right? Are you under chronic stress, right? Are you creating time and space to unwind for self-care? If you eat a very high sugar diet, if you drink a lot of coffee, a lot of alcohol, it's going to contribute to, brain fog and mood disruptions. And diet is super important when it comes to like our cognitive health. And like you said earlier, like everything is connected. Like we're not just going through menopause,
Right.
and we're not just losing our periods or our ability to conceive. It's an impacting our blood sugar, it's impacting our cognition, it's, impacting everything. So, and my hormone harmony blueprint, it's not a, I wouldn't call it a specific diet. It's just eating whole, real, natural foods. So if you start to feel that brain fog or that fatigue, take a look at your diet. Is it heavy in sugar and processed packaged foods? If yes, just kind of swap it out. Like focus more on lean protein and those healthier fats, and those complex carbohydrates, the carbohydrates that I like to say that the earth or God made, right? Those
Yeah.
are the carbohydrates that we should be eating.
Yeah.
Um, and though I love, bioidentical hormone replacement, but I always work with my women and say, okay, let's first start with food. Let's just break down your diet and clean it up and give you the foods that are supportive of just allowing it to, to thrive. And
Yeah.
then we add in the other things. But I really believe that everything starts with diet. Are you getting the correct nutrients? Let's crowd out all the foods that are causing the hot flashes and the brain fog and the inflammation. And, 9 times out of 10, that really kind of helps kind of lift the veil almost. And they're like, this feels a lot better. And because the body is so grateful to,
It's so true. It's so true. And I feel like one of the things that I've said in many of my workshops that I truly believe is that people don't fail on diets. People do well on diets. I think diets fail people because we're not, they're so cookie cutter and they're so generalized. I think it's so important for women to nourish themselves differently at different points in their life and to understand why they're nourishing themselves for that way. I mean, as someone who's a chronic dieter, I remember, I don't know if you remember this in the 80s, Rebecca, this is dating us, but I literally went on the hot dog diet. It was
oh, I
like
didn't do
two
that one.
two hot dogs, a scoop of vanilla ice cream, and it was just all about like restriction, right? Just managing like actually what you're putting in your mouth. And
Oh,
now I look back, I'm like, did I take a second to think about it and question what I was actually doing? And I think that I love your hormone harmony blueprint, Rebecca, because there's so much intuition and intention involved in it. And really, that's part of the reason why I wanted to have you come on as an expert, because I want women to understand why they're nourishing themselves a certain way and at that season in their life. And that, that for different people, it may look different, but there's so much intuition and intention and mindfulness to it. And I think that's where we have to like sort of shift our mindset a little bit from that general diet and culture.
yeah, I totally agree with that. And I was also a chronic dieter. I shared a little bit of my story that night. But diets, the traditional diet, diet means restriction, deprivation, starvation, um, and yet our nutrient nourishment needs vary, right, from person to person, right, because we're all different. But, any woman who's trying to like out exercise menopause or out diet menopause, I mean, they're actually making it worse, right?
Yeah.
And they're creating more cortisol dysregulation, more blood sugar crashes, you know, more shifts in estrogen and thyroid, right? So, I like to think of it as, it's time for us to nourish ourselves like the way we nourished and nurtured our children.
Yes, I
We
love
gave them
that.
everything. And now that, for most of us, obviously at this stage of life, we're empty nesters, our kids are out, in the world. So now we have this like opportunity to like nurture ourselves and love ourselves. And we have the right tools. Like the right tools are just so available. They're in our grocery store. They're right outside our front door, like looking at sunlight. I mean, even as silly as like hugging a tree,
Yeah.
right? And we just we've overcomplicated health over the
Yeah.
last several decades. And I love that now we're actually coming back, I feel like a little bit more in balance. Like people are starting to realize that less is more. Less is going to help us, maintain this optimal health and age healthfully and move through menopause with ease instead of fighting against it.
Absolutely. I love that. And I was laughing because I was in a workshop a couple months ago and it was about present moment awareness and mindfulness. And part of the workshop was going outside and hugging a tree. And I remember like taking a step back and being like, all right, maybe this is a little too woo-woo for me, but let me tell you all out there listening, do not knock it till you try it.
Oh
There's
yeah.
something so incredibly grounding about feet on earth and hugging a tree. And it is powerful. So I was a skeptic, but I invite you all to go outside and hug a tree. It will be life-changing.
Yeah, and there's science behind that. Actually, there's cellular change, there's changes with our brain chemistry when we hug a tree. So this is it's woo-woo, but there's is actual science that backs how good it is for you.
Well, I always tell my clients you can explain everything in, an energetic way and in a physiological anatomical way. And they really blend well together and it's one and the same. It's just how you choose to describe it. So I agree. Rebecca, your hormone harmony blueprint is amazing. I love your three pillars, nourish, energize, and thrive, because it really educates women that food is not enough, that exercising is not enough, that mindfulness is not enough. It's all of them together that's going to get you feeling amazing. And your blueprint really embodies that. So, your first pillar is nourish. What's one simple shift that you would ask or you would like all women to make today?
Okay. Though my one shift, regardless of your age or what stage of life you are in, and most women are under eating this one macronutrient, but it's protein. right? Protein over the past decades have been demonized, right? Protein causes high cholesterol, they said. Protein has fat in it, that makes us fat, right? And that's all been kind of debunked. So protein is our foundation. So we should be aiming for about 30 to 35% of our daily intake should be clean, well-sourced, lean protein, whether it's, a combination of animal protein and plant protein. And depending on your health goals, like if you're building muscle, or you're just existing, or just, I want to rephrase that, just thriving in your life, we should be eating about 100 to 130 grams of protein per day. And the protein should be in all of your bumper meals. So your breakfast, your lunch, and your dinner, you should have between 25 to 35 grams of protein per meal. And why is it important? Protein's the foundation for blood sugar control, muscle tone, hormone production, cognitive health, and it makes you really feel more grounded. And you'll notice when you have a meal that is protein forward, you're not as hungry, your blood sugar is not fluctuating, right? You have more mental clarity. So you're feeling grounded. You're getting all of those amino acids and all of the things that you need to, it's the fuel essentially for your body. So
Amazing.
protein,
So,
protein,
so
protein.
protein is queen.
Queen.
Protein is queen. Um,
Queen.
Protein is queen. And I agree with you. I have to admit that it's hard for me to get to that target macro protein, um, you know, value, but I'm always working on it because I really can understand and appreciate how important it is and how much better I feel. Your next pillar is energize, nervous system and blood sugar. So I love how you tie energy and blood sugar to the nervous system. What are your daily go-tos for that?
Okay, so I'll share those. So I just kind of want to go back to protein for
Yeah,
a second. I wanted to comment on what you just said. Um, Protein has to be strategic, right? It's hard for us to just show up in our kitchens and figure out how we're going to get our 30 grams of protein in that meal. So that's where, meal planning and meal prepping comes in. And, even like go online and have like, three or four like protein forward breakfasts, like know what they are, make sure you have the ingredients. So yeah, so just kind of being strategic and plan ahead about your protein. um so
makes sense.
my
Okay.
my Energize, so yeah, so it's definitely tied together. It's all the things that we do, like to regulate our nervous system, to balance our blood sugar, right? And simple things, walking, yoga, breath work, grounding, like these are the tools that we have that don't cost any money, that are easily accessible, that help regulate our nervous system. The other thing that will actually hijack our nervous system is blood sugar dysregulation, right? So when we start skipping meals, our blood sugar gets hijacked, and then that affects our cortisol, and our nervous system goes haywire. So we always want to balance all of our meals, our snacks and our meals. You always want to have, I like to say, don't eat a naked carb, right? Meaning an apple is a phenomenal uh, snack, okay? But it does cause your blood sugar to elevate. So if you take that apple and you pair it with some almonds or some clean nut butter, then you've got that perfect blood sugar regulatory snack. So when you start balancing your meals or you start balancing your snacks with a protein or a fat, then it helps keep your cortisol in check. You feel really grounded. Your nervous system isn't all over the place, and your blood sugar is really stable. And you'll find that you are fuller longer, you're more satiated. And then I also want to add that for my friends who start to look for food at that 3, 4 o'clock time or that after dinner time, most of the time it's because the body has not gotten enough of the good macronutrients throughout the day. So you haven't gotten enough protein, you haven't gotten enough complex carbs or healthy fats. So as you start to go through your day and your body is using all the energy, it's starting to look for fuel.
Right.
So if you are balancing those meals, and each meal has a protein, a fat, and a fiber, and those snacks have a good complex carbohydrate and a protein or a fat, then you're going to notice you're not mindlessly looking for snacks or eating after dinner or that late night stuff. So it's really interrelated. These things that we do to balance our nervous system, like even the walking and the yoga and the breath work, right? That helps keep us feeling grounded and less stressed. And then in addition, making sure that our blood sugar is regulated throughout the day just
Mhm.
kind of creates like this just a more more grounded feeling in our bodies, right? So we're not all over the place. And it will definitely impact, all of the menopausal symptoms. You'll find that you have less aches and pains and less hot flashes and less, brain fog if we are nourishing the body.
Definitely. And I think one thing that I really, really want to land with people in this is that it's not one thing, it's all the things together combined.
Yep.
Like, you hear Rebecca talking, it's about how you nourish your body, it's how you manage your nervous system, which in effect will affect your cortisol and your blood sugar. It's all the things. So, Rebecca, one of the things that my favorite pillar is thrive. Because I
Mhm.
think sometimes in life we forget to do that. And it talked about things like joy, play, creating boundaries. Why are these so important to hormone health?
Because we are under so much stress, and I think it would be interesting to kind of see a study of hormonal symptoms like throughout the decades, right? We are under more stress now than our mothers, our grandmothers, our great grandmothers, like different stress, but we are bombarded all the time. So our stress isn't just our calendar, right? Our stress becomes part of our cells and our being, right? So we also need to, not only detox our diet, we need to detox our energy, right?
Yeah,
We need to
that.
make time for laughter and joy and connection with our friends, with our partners, with intimacy with ourselves and with other people. And most of the women I talk to, like, they have no joy. There were years when I had no joy. Like, joy was about raising my kids, and then it became about the hustle, right?
Yeah.
So, for me, and that's actually my intention for 2025, is finding that joy, and not finding it, creating the joy.
I'm going to hold you accountable to that.
Okay, I'm going to hold you to holding me accountable.
I'm going to hold you accountable to that. And I think it's so important to take a step back and to be intentional about that and carve out time for that. I actually just wrote an article, it's in our blog, about how my weekly Sabbath has saved my nervous system, my soul, and my emotional health. And it's just a very intentional pause in the week that I personally couldn't live without. One of the things that I thought everybody really wanted to hear about at the amazing event was about supplements. For people who are overwhelmed with what supplements to take, because God knows we're bombarded with, all of these advertisements and gimmicks and even not gimmicks, where should someone start? What are the basics?
Okay. So first I will say, do not take supplement supplement recommendations from your favorite influencer.
Yeah,
Okay? I will say first.
could
Uh,
not agree more.
I'm sorry.
I could not agree more.
Yeah. I mean, you have to understand that when your favorite, like, influencer or TikToker is telling you how they, lost 20 pounds or cured their hot flashes with X supplement, you know that they've got some monetary incentive for telling you that. So
Right.
that's not your go-to. But with that being said, I would say if you're going to to start with two. And there's so many supplements you can take, and that can even become overwhelming and can contribute to stress. I would say my two MVPs would be magnesium glycinate and omega-3, right?
I love omega-3.
So they're gentle, they're effective, they set the foundation for calming the nervous system, they're reducing systematic inflammation in the body and in the brain. I always like to say food is your first line of defense, and you can get mostly all of your supplementation from a clean, varied, whole food diet. Whole food meaning, again, food that the earth or God created. That's it, right?
I,
But sometimes we need a little boost, especially when we are, going through perimenopause and menopause. So magnesium glycinate help with sleep. Your
I,
also is great for reducing inflammation, and for cognition and brain health. So I would say those would be like my two MVPs.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's always a place, I didn't talk about it. Maybe I did talk about it the other night. There's always a place for a good, high quality dark chocolate.
Hmm.
I that as a prescription to everyone that I work with at night
I
after
could come
dinner.
forward with that.
85% cacao, or higher. I like, I'm going to share a brand, but I don't get any I
Me,
don't
tell us. Please
get,
share.
the HU, the Hue chocolate,
Love
is
that.
the best chocolate. They have just a little bit of organic coconut sugar in it. It feels great in the mouth. It's rich, it's creamy. So like for me, I do one square in the evening, and it has magnesium, and that helps us relax and helps us with sleep. So
All right, everybody get on board with the chocolate. That's the easiest thing we can do.
totally.
Rebecca, you closed at the event with something that I loved. You said you're not broken, you're becoming. And I think that's so powerful. In just one or two sentences, what do you want every single woman to remember? Just your simplest message that you want them to carry in their minds.
Yeah, just that we're not broken. I really feel that as we age, we're stepping into the space where we're becoming better, and we're like a better version of ourselves, and we're thriving, right? We just need the right support, right?
Yes.
So first thing we need is, it begins with having some grace, right? And honoring the journey that our bodies have gone on, and being grateful that, at 40, 50, 60, 70, and beyond, we're here, we're alive, we've accomplished so much. But
Yes.
now there's more joy, more for us to accomplish, or whatever that is. But it begins with grace and love and compassion for ourselves, and realizing that just because you're 60 or 70 doesn't mean that it's too late, and it's over, right? It's now it's your time to really begin, and
You're
there's so many
smart.
tools out there for us to do that.
I love that. Rebecca, thank you so much for all your wisdom. Um, it was an incredible evening full of information. For any of you that don't know, Pelvicore Rehab has launched our Ask the Experts initiative. It's a free monthly event. Rebecca, I know people are going to want to find you and hear more about your Hormone Harmony Blueprint. Where can they find you?
So my website is RebeccaKastinCoaching.com, or I'm on Instagram and Facebook as Rebecca Kastin. And my Hormone Harmony Blueprint is right on the website. And if you want more information, just reach out to me on the contact page. And I'm happy to connect with everybody and answer everybody's questions, and guide them through hormone harmony.
Thank you, Rebecca. So, hormone harmony is possible. Begin where you're at. Take small steps. And remember that when you pair good pelvic health with smart, supportive, sustainable nutrition, you're not managing menopause, you are mastering it. Have a wonderful night, everybody. Thank you so much for all of those of you who joined us live. And I hope for all of you that are getting this recap that you benefited. And as always, join us at our next live Ask the Experts event. You could find us at Pelvicore Rehab and Wellness.